All right. Happy Tuesday to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here just after the noon hour in Denver, Colorado. Sunny, windy, still kind of wintry, but pretty much spring at this point in time. My name is Brian Brinkman. I am the recruiting and advising director here at the Jake Job Center for Entrepreneurship here at CU Denver. If you are watching this and you have started an application, or you are interested in our program, or you are planning to join us here in the summer or the fall, you probably had a conversation with me. Welcome back. If so, if we have not spoken, you'll see my contact info throughout this webinar, and I will be more than happy to set up a meeting with you, talk through any questions you have about our program, about our school, about what we offer, what we can accommodate, how we best set you up for success within the world of entrepreneurship. Today, I'm going to be joined shortly with one of our fantastic professors, Professor Bryan Stear, and we're going to talk a bit about the MS in Entrepreneurship program, the differentiating factors between the MS in Entrepreneurship and an MBA, some of the options that Denver offers and some of the benefits that Denver offers for young entrepreneurs, some of the experiential education opportunities that you can anticipate within your program and how best to approach them, as well as we'll talk a bit about the course that Bryan teaches, ENTP 6020, which was one of our most valuable courses for students to really dive into a concept that they have developed, build that out into a business plan, and begin to pitch those ideas towards investors. So we're very excited. We are at a really unique time in the semester for our center. We are 10 days away exactly from receiving final submissions for the Climb 2026. If you are a prospective student, you will be hearing a lot about the Climb over the coming year. This is our annual pitch competition. We utilize the competition as a workshop as well for students to speak with entrepreneurs, get feedback, test out pitches, test out their ideas, really reevaluate where they're at with their overall business concepts. So it's a fantastic experiential education opportunity that really combines a lot of what you have been studying in your courses and just throws you out there and says, where's your idea at this point in time, and what do we need to do to tweak things to put it in the best place possible? So great opportunity for students who are engaged in the program. In addition, I'm working with all prospective students towards our summer and fall start dates. So we are seeing our new classes fill up with prospective students, and it's always exciting for me to hear from students who are thinking about going back to school, who have ideas, who are looking for some advice, some new direction in their overall career, and to work with you as you take these steps. So in today's presentation, we are going to be talking, like I said, with Professor Bryan Stear here in a second. We're going to be talking about the Jake Job Center for Entrepreneurship, what the center offers, the history of the center. I'll talk through the program structure and the curriculum breakdown so you have a brief idea of what that looks like. We can go into further details on an independent call as well. Some of the networking and mentorship opportunities available to all students who are in the program, what the tuition rate looks like here in March of 2026, what scholarship options that we have available. And then for those of you who have not yet completed the application, what final steps need to be taken to complete. And then we will host a brief Q&A following all of this material in case there's anything specific you'd like to discuss. In addition, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I will say this again. Any specific questions that you have, please do feel free to schedule a call with me. We'll be able to do that by the end of this webinar so that we can talk one-on-one about your questions, what you need to make this program successful for you, and if it's the right fit in that sort of standpoint. So with that, I want to bring on Professor Bryan Stear. Once he's able to get on here, we're going to talk through our program. Bryan, how are you?
Hey, Brian, good. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. Thank you so much for taking some time to speak with me.
Of course. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. So Brian works as both a mentor for many of our students. He also works teaching ENTP 60/20, as well as classes at the undergraduate level. You're kind of all over the place with us.
Yeah, mostly business planning classes at undergrad and the graduate level. So yeah, new venture creation, business planning, modeling, all that jazz.
Brian is one of the professors who, like, you just love to roll up your sleeves, be like, okay, what do we need to do here? What can we mess around with? What are we going to discover? You're really, really active in that sort of way, it seems.
Well, I mean, it's an entrepreneurial mindset, right? Like I didn't come from academia. I'm actually, I came from the business world and then gravitated towards academia. So I kind of found myself into this because I enjoyed helping out students. I enjoyed mentoring startup businesses. So, teaching a class on business planning is not that much different than mentoring a student team or
Yeah.
mentoring, just any kind of new business. To me, it's just a larger scale, the same thing. If there's 2 people or 20 people, it doesn't really matter. Same thing.
I love that. And that's, your background, it mirrors a lot of what we tend to look for with students who are coming into our program, or for students who are coming into our program, because we don't want them to learn kind of a rigid academic approach to entrepreneurship. As you well know, entrepreneurship is very active. It's very much, let's make mistakes and figure out where we went wrong and then rebuild from that point in time. So having someone who comes from the business world tends to be what we are seeking for any prospective students out there, because we want we want this to be applicable. We want this to be experiential. And it's a nice segue into our first question here of, if you're a student who is looking to start a business, perhaps you've already started it, perhaps you've tried and you've gone back into the corporate world and you're like, why would I go back to school right now to study entrepreneurship at the master's level? What is your advice for a student who is considering higher education, wants the experiential side, wants something that entrepreneurship offers, but is a little bit unfamiliar because it is a relatively new degree field? What is your thought in terms of why someone should go back to school for this?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And I think it comes down to two things. It comes down to really motivation and it comes down to being able to really hash out a good business plan. And I'll give you an example, right? So on the motivation side, I was working on when I launched my first business, I worked on that business for like probably 3 or 4 years before actually getting it launched, right? So what the scenario is that most students run into is they'll have this business idea and they just work on it in their free time, right? And oh, I did it for 30 minutes this week. I forgot about it. I'm going to dust it off in a month. So really, if you're not what the MS program does is it forces you to stay motivated, right? So you kind of get thrown into a program. So it's forcing you to work on this plan every week. And it's also giving you the resources to make sure that your business plan has really good assumptions going in. So, you know, forcing you to be motivated gets you back into the game. And then all of the resources that the MS program gives you is making sure your business plan makes sense, right? So you can spend a lot of time working on this in your free time, but unless you have really dedicated resources and peer groups and support groups to help you go through the plan, you usually just don't launch the business. This program is really designed to kind of force you to launch the business or at least come to the conclusion that, this really isn't a good business idea, right? So in both those scenarios, these are positive outcomes. You either left with a really good program, or sorry, left with a really good business plan and a master's degree, or you left with a master's degree and realized that your business plan really wasn't great and you could, pivot into something else. Another way of looking at it is from a cost perspective. So I work with private business coaches. I have friends that do this for a living, right? And if they charge, say, $5,000 for a coaching session, over the course of a year or two, you could easily spend $25,000 on business coaches, right? So if you say, okay, well, I could either spend that money on getting a master's degree, and then you get access to the school's resources, like the climb events, industry experts, mentors, and you walk away with a master's degree for the same price tag as hiring 5 business coaches. I would take the master's degree plus the expertise at the end every time. It's kind of a no-brainer equation from a value perspective, because once you have the master's degree, you have so many more paths open to you from like a funding perspective or, an investor perspective. even from a bank lending perspective, right? If you walk into a bank and you say, no, I've got a master's degree in entrepreneurship and I want to launch this business, I need $500,000. That is much more powerful statement than just saying, hey, I've been thinking about this for a while. I think this is a good idea. When you have a degree backing it, investors and bank lenders look at you a lot differently if you have a master's degree in business or entrepreneurship and you're going after that same business model that you worked on in school. So it's just a better value for your money. If you're going to spend that money anyway, might as well get a degree and get access to that awesome network and hopefully, be able to be more successful or have a higher probability of launching your business.
Yeah, and there's a fallback, plan there as well that you're highlighting from a cost standpoint, from the certification or the accomplishment of having the master's degree on your resume. If you ultimately decide, I don't necessarily want to, I've realized I don't want to launch a business. Well, you have a master's degree now within business that is going to open even further
Yeah.
doors to you. And you talk about the coaching side of things, you'll have access to mentors here. All of that sort of stuff will come with the larger program, and the costs you could spend in a year on business coaching is pretty much in line with what you would spend within the program as a domestic student. So I definitely agree. And the motivation side of it is really interesting because I see a lot of students come in, and I'm sure you see this from a teaching standpoint, who they're like, well, I've had this idea for a couple of years, but I've never done anything with it. And then you start to put deadlines and assignments in front of them, and they start to realize, like, I can actually make this a reality. And that moment is so exciting.
Oh, 100%. And then getting the feedback from other students and other professors and other industry experts on your actual business plan. Taking a business planning class at the master's level, it puts so much more meat on the bone. It's like, oh no, this is a really good idea. And you have 12 people telling you that. Whereas when you just had as a pet project before, you weren't getting that outside feedback. Sure, your parents were your best cheerleaders, but your parents aren't, business professionals and like industry experts, right? They're going to tell you, yes, we wish you the best. Like, what a great idea, right? Pat you on the back, but you need real candid feedback. And that's what the master's program can give you.
Yeah, I love that. Having that, yeah, you want people in your corner cheering for you, but those people aren't necessarily the ones that are determining funding long term and working through that process where nobody knows you, nobody knows your idea, and you have to convince them. It kind of opens a different question because the standard approach for the longest time within business is if you go into graduate school, you're going for an MBA. It's well known across the board. It's highly applicable in a wide variety of industries, and it can really start to set you apart. This program operates slightly differently from that. If you were a student trying to decide between an entrepreneurship master's degree or a standard MBA, quality standard MBA, we have a great program here at CU Denver. But what would be your determining factor? Why would you choose an entrepreneurship degree over an MBA at this point?
Yeah, that's a good question and one that comes up a lot. The short answer to that is the creative aspect. If you're a creative and you're interested in creating a new business, an MBA program isn't designed to help you with that, right? If you look at it from a perspective of, like, I always say, like 0 to 1 and 1 to 10, right? If an MBA program is designed to help you manage and grow a multi-million-dollar business, right? So that's like the 1 to 10 million. MBA programs are usually not very focused on creating a business, right? So actually, like, coming up with a business model, hashing out that idea, finding investors, getting it launched, right? That's the 0 to $1 million person, right? So if you thrive on innovation and you really need help creating and opening a business, the Master's in Entrepreneurship is designed to help you launch a business. If you just enjoy managing a business and working on the administrative side and helping it, kind of make a few more dollars the next year, that's what an MBA is good for, right? So when you look at it from, ideation to launch, and then you have like operations and then growth, MBAs are focused on operating and growing. A master's in entrepreneurship is focused on creating and launching. So there's a small overlap in the middle, but traditional MBA programs aren't really designed to help you launch a business. And that's the appeal of programs like this program is designed to help you launch a business. So if that is your sole objective, a master's in entrepreneurship will help you. An MBA can help you if you select the right program, but most MBA programs, again, the traditional ones, aren't designed to help you launch businesses. That's just the difference. They're designed to help you, operate businesses. It's
Yeah.
Masters of Business Administration. You're administering a business, right? You're running a business. You're not making one.
Yeah, that idea of, and I tend to see this when I advise students, is if they come in wanting something on their resume that will allow them to take that next step in their career within the given industry that they're in, an MBA tends to be the right option for them. If, like you're saying, someone is looking for a little bit more autonomy, they're looking for the creative side, they want to have that flexibility as a business leader, but they don't really know where to begin. They don't have the network, they don't have the funding, they haven't had a ton of practice with networking and pitching. An entrepreneurship degree is really going to give you that kind of like pathway right out the gates, whereas the MBA will not necessarily keep you where you currently are, but as I've always understood it, the design is to take you from your current position and give you access to another level at your current company. Whereas an entrepreneurship is a little bit more, we're building the road as we walk on it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're 100% right. If your goal is to get a promotion and make more money in a large company, an MBA is perfect for you. If your goal is to launch your own business and work for yourself, so you're not an employee anymore, the master's in entrepreneurship would be a better path for you. It's just you either work for someone or you're working for yourself. That's
Yeah.
really how you can slice it.
Yeah. And so we are currently sitting here in downtown Denver, just blocks away from sports arenas, from the 16th Street Mall, the seat of government here in Colorado. There's a lot going on downtown. And I come from the Midwest. I come from Chicago. I moved out here, and I've always been blown away for the last decade since I've been here that how much the city has grown, what the environment is like here. What in your mind makes Denver such a great hub for entrepreneurs and a great spot for young students and students of all ages and experiences who want to launch a business? What makes Denver such a great hub for them?
Yeah, it's a good question. Denver to me is just kind of a sweet spot for a lot of different things. One, obviously the weather's great, but obviously we also have like a lot of very smart. We have a very smart talent pool coming out of Denver, right? Like we've got a ton of highly ranked universities. We've got great scientists, great engineers, great software developers, right? Like basically great everything. And when you add a culture of collaboration, like in Denver, everyone seems to be willing to help each other. When you're on the coasts, it seems like it's a little more cutthroat. And I don't know how to quantify that, but like I've been to Denver Startup Week, which is like a 1 week long free event for startup businesses. And there's literally hundreds of companies and presenters that come and everyone just wants to help each other, right? So when you have a culture like that where you have that people are highly motivated, highly educated, they like what they do, they like the city, they enjoy playing outdoors. When you put all that together, it just forms like this perfect storm of factors that you need to successfully launch and make your business thrive and be sustainable over the years. So I don't know how to quantify it, but it just hits on all points. It's just the perfect intersection of all those factors, and I think it's just a great place to be. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, yeah, same. And I mean the excitement around the city for small businesses. I mean, there's a lot happening right now downtown where there's a lot of bids for office space, for real estate to kind of revitalize the downtown area. So there's already a lot of entrepreneurship happening. You go down to the tech center, you go out to the Anschutz campus. There's just a lot. Boulder has a lot going on from an entrepreneurial and small business mindset. You're in an environment where people are thinking, how do I support small businesses? How do I support big ideas that may not be appreciated elsewhere because there may not be the need for it? So there's just a lot happening that we see it all the time with students who come into the program, not necessarily sure if they're going to get funding or approval for what they're trying to do, and then leaving the program with funding, a larger network, a lot of success in that sort of standpoint. And Denver feels like the right place for a lot of this to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of money hidden behind the scenes. I mean, there's venture capital firms that operate out of Denver and Boulder. There's private equity firms that operate at Denver and Boulder. I mean, Techstars came out of Boulder. That was a huge VC firm. There, there's a lot of money that's around here, and people have ears, and they go to these CU Denver events, and they'll go to like the Climb pitch contest, and they mentor young student teams, but secretly, I think they're looking for businesses to fund, right? So like a lot of these mentors are doing it because they get enjoyment out of it, it's rewarding, but I think secretly they're also looking for businesses to invest in. So maybe that's just my biased opinion, but I see that happen quite frequently.
No, that's a great segue into the next question, because the mentorship side of this is a huge aspect of the program. But you just hit upon something that I think, is really important for all students to understand. The people that are giving their time are not just doing it out of the kindness of their heart. They really like young small business leaders, young entrepreneurs. They like the idea of someone who doesn't know necessarily how to ask, but is working towards that. And how do we develop you in that sort of standpoint? And part of that is because if they hear a really good idea, they have enough experience to say, this may be a raw idea, but I'm willing to invest in this. But what comes with that, what precipitates that, is the conversation and the feedback and the opportunity for an entrepreneur to say, here's my idea right now. And you, the mentor, the investor, the entrepreneur on the other side of the table, to say, cool, here's the thing I like about it. Here are all the things that I would scrap. And this is why. And that feedback process, I find to be really important. What do you see as so essential about that feedback process for a young entrepreneur, a newer entrepreneur joining our program?
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer, but what I usually say is what you think is going to be a successful business idea is usually not what an investor thinks will be a successful business idea. So if you bring up an idea, let's not even say an investor, if you just bring up an idea to your business mentor and they look at it and they go, hey, this business plan is just way too complicated. You've got too many product or service lines. Like, I think these sales assumptions are wrong. If you just cut it back to this product or service and you focused on this branding and this marketing, I think this is $1 million idea. And you'll take a step back and you'll kind of feel like, oh man, they just poo-pooed my whole business plan. But what they probably actually did was told you what you need to do to tweak your plan to have them give you money to launch the plan, right? They were basically saying like, hey, if you just focus on this, I will cut you a check for $20,000 or $200,000, whatever it is, right? So taking that feedback from experienced entrepreneurs or business experts who are telling you, no, I've done this before. That is not going to work for these reasons. If you just focus on blank, you'll be successful. That advice, that is gold right there, right? And if you make those tweaks, you probably made it to a point where it's actually an investable idea, and they might be the one investing in it. So the feedback is actually loosely veiled, advice to make this small tweak, and I might have someone interested in investing.
It's a really good point. And the way you lay that out, the idea of, if an investor is telling you I would cut these things, they're basically saying, if you cut this aspect of your business plan or add this, I'm suddenly interested.
Yeah.
Where do you think, I'm adding a subpart to your question because I think it's really enlightening. Where do you think the challenge is for a student who has a business plan, hears feedback, but is resistant to that feedback? Like where does that come from? How do you overcome that as a student? What would be your advice there?
I don't know if I have a good answer to that. How do you overcome that? It has to do with a mindset, right? You have to, at some point, you have to realize, oh, I've been working on this idea for 4 years. I've wasted countless hours and money hiring consultants who just told me what I wanted to hear, and business coaches who were just telling me, some general advice didn't really help me. And after you spend years and years doing that, and you realize it got you nowhere, you actually need to be open to that like hard feedback from people who aren't going to sugarcoat things. They're going to tell you really why it's not working and how to make it work. But if you're not at the point in your entrepreneurial adventure where you're open to that feedback, you're just not ready for it yet. So, I mean, that's that's probably just one of those things where you're either at that point or you're not at that point. If you're not at that point where you're open to feedback, you're probably not that serious about your business venture. That's probably just the short way of saying it.
Yeah. And I say that I agree with you. And I don't think you say that to scare or discourage anyone. I think the reality is launching a successful business. I think you would attest to this. It takes a lot of feedback and a lot of conversation and a lot of tweaking of a business plan until it's right and ready and then it goes forward. All that's to say, you determining as a student that you are an entrepreneur, you're going to pursue entrepreneurship, means that you're not a finished product right now. You know what you want, but we're not at the point of launch. So let's work through all these proper steps to get you there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of pointing it. Absolutely.
So within that, you teach one of our most important and one of our more popular classes, Entrepreneurship 60/20, which goes by strategizing the startup launch right now. Used to be known as Business Model Development and Planning. This course, I always think of this as our capstone course, because walking out of this course, you should have, as you noted at the top, either a business plan that is ready to go to investors, or knowing that you have tried everything possible, scrapping it and starting over with the skills of how to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
This course also mirrors the climb competition that I spoke about at the top. Why do you think that this class is so valuable, and how would you recommend students approach this class throughout their program?
Yeah, I think the value of the class comes from the fact that like the professor is gonna hold you to milestones, right? Like you're coming into an 8-week class, which you can also view as a boot camp, right? Like you're getting thrown into the water, like, head first. Like you will walk away with a business plan at the end of 8 weeks, right? And the syllabus is designed to make you think through all the aspects of your business plan, right? It's designed to give you those tools and resources you need to come to answers very quickly. Are your key assumptions right? Are your sales projections right? Are your payroll numbers accurate? Like you need to go through all of these details in your business plan with a fine tooth comb. And unless someone is holding your feet to the fire and forcing you to do it, it's very hard to stay motivated in a lot of scenarios. I mean, that's why people pay for boot camps, or they join accelerator programs, or they hire, business coaches. Is these people are literally just forcing you to do the work that it was just challenging for you to do on your own because life happens, right? But when you're in an 8-week class, 8 weeks is not a long amount of time. So it's a short enough class where you're going to put in the time and be dedicated, but it's not going to like be all consuming after that. It's only 8 weeks. It's 2 months of your life, right? And you're going to walk away either with a really polished plan that you believe in, or you're going to leave after 8 weeks and say, hey, that business idea isn't really going to work. I need to pivot to something else you're passionate about, or you need to make some tweaks to it, right? So, after 8 weeks, that's really what you're going to walk away with, is that insight. Either, no, this is a really good idea, or I need to put this idea on the bookshelf and move on with my life.
Yeah, and that we recently, within the last couple of years, moved from the 16-week model to the 8-week model, because that crash course nature, where this is all consuming for a 2-week period in time and then you move on, I think can help a lot of students if they are onto something with a business plan. It's that light at the end of the tunnel. I can see 2 months ahead, and I'm just going to put my head down and move through this. For students who are struggling with a business plan, it's not so long that they feel as though I've got to just keep doing this thing that is potentially not going to work out. It allows you kind of an end date to scrap that, plus have those skill sets. How do you find that this class works alongside of the climb? And do you find that it benefits students to be in this class while applying to the climb?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the climb's, I guess, timeline or the milestone or the application deadline is like, I think 2 weeks after this class ends. So the deliverables for the graduate business planning class are essentially deliverables for the climb competition. And why that's so important is what happens is a lot of students realize about halfway through the 8-week course that they need to pivot their business models. Well, when you still have 4 weeks left, that's plenty of time to adapt your business model, because you're good at it by that point. You know the change you need to make. Like it's much easier to rewrite your plan once you know how to write the plan and how to find those assumptions or those estimates. What's really interesting about the climb and any pitch contest for that matter is I've had a lot of students from my classes win prize money. So students who are solely focused, not solely, but students who are focused on winning something like the climb, they stand a really good chance of winning some prize money. Maybe it's not first place, but second or third place is still, I could still be $10,000, $5,000, right? So when you look
Mhm.
at it from the cost of your degree, if you're factoring in the fact that you won a $10,000 prize from a business contest, that's almost half of your tuition, right? So it's the how should I say it? If you take this course, you probably have a pretty good chance of having a very strong submission to the climb and probably walking away with some prize money, which can help offset tuition. But it takes a lot of dedication. I mean, this isn't a guaranteed, but it puts you in a much better position to win prize money after you finish a class like this.
And I also even find with students who participate in the climb and either make it to the finals and don't win, or don't even make it to the finals, you are still getting all the workshop time to speak directly one-on-one with an entrepreneur about your ideas and about where you're at. And so you're getting that feedback in real time at no cost to you. If you make it to the finals, even if you are not one of the winners, you are still going through the experience of putting together your pitch deck, presenting that in front of a live crowd, being judged and getting feedback from judges in the moment. All of these are learning experiences that can complement what we're learning in 60/20.
Yeah, 100% learning experience. And also I've done multiple climb submitters who have actually found investors sitting in the audience at the climb, right? So, I'm thinking of one right now, but it's like, yeah, they didn't win any prize money, but they did, pique the interest of some investors who hit them up after the event, right? So just getting that exposure, knowing that there might be 50 or 100 angel investors sitting in that audience that you even know about, right?
Yep.
They're also judging the climb competition. They're not awarding prize money, but they are awarding their email address saying, hey, hit me up after the dust settles here. This is a really intriguing idea. I might be interested in funding it.
Yeah, it's a great point. The community that comes out, it's a big event and allows people the opportunity to just market themselves and really test out where they're at this point. And I've seen students who have participated one year, not won, come back the next year and had that much more success as well. So there's a great way to just have it be a chance to, chip away at these very critical steps that most students, until they are in a course like this or a program like this, are not pitching ideas to live audiences, are not pitching ideas to investors in one-on-one meetings. And having those experiences where you can just get over them and not have to worry about it anymore seems to be really helpful.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the one other thing that I forgot to mention is, like, yeah, there's the prize money, and then there might be some angel investors hiding in the audience. But within the school and the center, there's also like the venture capital fund, right? So the Rut Bridges Fund, like I've seen that fund supporting student businesses, right? So one of the values of being in an ecosystem like this, like in the master's program, is you can also get money from, like a venture fund. So a fund is going to invest in you, provide you very low cost of capital, and you might only give a couple percent equity points up for ownership of your business, right? But like if you weren't in the master's program, you didn't have access to like a venture fund like that, it's very hard to just go talk to some venture capital group and they'll say, hey, I just need $20,000 to start my business, right? Like they don't want to talk to you unless there's like two more zeros on that deal. But within the center here, like I've seen that program give plenty of loans out to start small businesses, right? So just having access to things like that is another benefit of the program that you don't really see from doing outside research, but that also helps launch businesses.
Yeah, that experiential side, just the more practice that you have pitching your ideas, going through that, it's just going to set you up long term, regardless what you do. Even if you realize small business leadership's not for me, the process of asking someone who has the money if they will invest in you breaks down a lot of kind of social codes and social norms in a way that can only help you professionally when you have additional asks, be it of your supervisor, be it of a potential job that you're interviewing for. These are all really hard skills that I think can benefit people, even if you don't go into, if you would never launch a business of your dreams, if you just are, professionally making your way through the world, there's a lot that you can apply here that will help you long term.
Oh yeah, I mean, it really falls under the umbrella of communication, right? It's all
Yeah.
it's all communication skills. It's like emotional intelligence, right? Empathy, the being able to communicate your ideas, articulate something really well. Like, yeah, I yes, that is a very powerful byproduct of this the master's program and an 8-week class on pitching and coming up with a business plan. So yeah, fair point.
So tell me three things that you would recommend. We'll have students who are both here, who are watching after the fact, who are going to be coming to our program here in the summer and the fall. If you were in those shoes, you've got ideas. Maybe you haven't fully tested yourself from a pitching standpoint. Maybe you have a loose business plan, but you're going into this program, you're going to get a master's degree eventually. What are the three things that you would recommend a new entrepreneurship student do to get the most out of this program?
Yeah, so the first thing I highly recommend is all the extracurriculars. And what I mean by that is all of the extra events and pitch competitions and consulting nights, like the free consultants that come in. Take advantage of all those programs you can, because I can't imagine another year in your life where you're going to have so much access to free mentors, free consultants, free PhD level advice, having access to students who also have great ideas who can give you feedback on your plan, right? So attending all of those events that are outside of class is giving you access to this giant networking ecosystem of professionals and academics and experts. And if you don't take advantage of that, as soon as you graduate, it's just very hard to get back into an ecosystem like that. So take advantage of that while you can, because that's going to open more doors for you than you can imagine. The second thing, I think it has to do with being able to ask for help of outside businesses. So another way of saying that is, this is the best time when you can actually do research on your competition or your future potential competition under the guise of, this is a student project. So I'll tell you a little secret. When a student emails a business executive, business professional, call it what it is. If a student asks you for help, no one says no to students. It's like this heartstring that's being plucked, and you're just like, oh my God, have a heart. Why would you ever tell a student no? You wouldn't be willing to help them out on their class project, right? So
Yeah.
when you're in the master's program, because you're a student, you're literally able to cold email all of your business competitors who you might be competing with in a year and say, hey, I'm working on this student project, and I really wanted to ask you about this because you're the industry expert, and could you help out this student who really just is trying to get a good grade? I really want to get your insight because you're the best at what you do. No one says no to that. They say,
Right.
there's two things that happen. They either say, yeah, let's hop on a Zoom, or yeah, let's go get a cup of coffee. So they either say yes, or they'll say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm really busy right now. Hit me up again in a month, right? You don't get a cold no. You're a student.
Right.
They either say, yeah, let's meet up, or sorry, I'm just busy. Let's hit me up in a couple of weeks. So once students realize that they have that kind of secret weapon of no one says no to students, you got to use that right now, because as soon as you're not a student anymore, you're now their competition and they're not going to talk to you. So that's one thing I say. And the last advice I'll give is, when you're at the business school, like when you're at the Entrepreneurship Center, you're going to be working with students and you're going to be working on class projects, and you're actually going to see people's expertise and their work ethics, right? This is the best time to actually look for people who you want to work with, right? So go hunt for a co-founder, go hunt for a business partner, because you're seeing people in their natural environment. You're seeing how they behave under stress, under deadlines. You're seeing how they actually treat people. You're seeing how they handle each other. It's just, you're not going to have access to insight like that after you graduate. You're going to be conducting 1-hour interviews via Zoom or whatever it is to find employees for your business, right? So if you can find people that you want to work with now based on what you're seeing and how they interact with other classmates and professors and experts, now is the best time to actually find business partners, because you just have levels of access and insight that you're not going to have once you're just hiring people off of, these giant job websites. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't know. It's, you just have really good data right now and access to people, and find out if you want to work with them before you get out there in the real world. So that's another one. Just find some partners now.
I love all those pieces of advice because they all apply to kind of a general thesis I try to encourage students to think about as they're coming into the program, that you need to think about this program as though you are now an entrepreneur. From day one, when you're in the program, you have the opportunity to attend a number of events, to attend conferences and startup events and pitch opportunities throughout the city of Denver, taking as much advantage of that as possible and really building out what the day-to-day rhythm of being an entrepreneur feels like. You know this, having started businesses, it is very different from the standard wake up at 6 a.m., work out, eat some food, go to the office. Office is relatively predictable. Work, 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 go home, make dinner, do it all over again. Entrepreneurs are trying to figure out, okay, here's where I can do this for myself. Here's where I can, be there for my kids, because the rest of the time I'm focused on the business and I don't know exactly what it's going to need of me today. So trying to get into that rhythm of what is the business need of me today? How many events can I hit up? How many opportunities can I take advantage of so that I can get as much access as possible early on is really good to just get into the rhythm of. I have not yet heard, and I love this idea, the reaching out to competitors in the guise of a student project. Anyone out there watching this, like, please write this down, take note of this, because it is really fascinating. It's an opportunity for you to learn as a student, but as a future competitor, what are the things I'm overlooking? Where are there gaps in this product line? Where is there an opportunity for me to get an edge here and understand what my competition is doing? And then finding a co-founder. So many students, they tend to think that they need to do this alone. That the entrepreneurial journey is a isolated one. It is at times, but as you're noting, you may come in with the vision and you may know exactly how that vision is going to be presented to investors, but someone writes you that $200,000 check and you've now got to start your business. What if you don't know anything about finance? What if you don't know anything about marketing? What if you don't know, name what your business will need? You need someone to run HR. You can find talent on a collegiate campus, within our program, within the business school, within our larger university, that is looking for similar things that you are, but is also looking for a leader like yourself to follow. So, that sort of stuff can happen in a really unique way as you're building this out.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, Bryan, I want to thank you so much for your time. I know you have to run to class here shortly. Is there anything else you'd like to share for our prospective students, just in terms of our program and what your thoughts are?
Um, Entrepreneurship, I kind of have this joke. It's like you can't do it alone, but you alone are responsible for the success or the launch of your business. So yeah, you need to be, as the founder, like, it's your responsibility to, like, get it launched and do everything, but you can't do it alone. Like, the solopreneur is, it's kind of like this unicorn. It's like you don't exist in a vacuum. Like, you're going to need
Yeah.
to work with other people. You're going to need to you're going to need to build your network. You're going to need to take advantage of every resource possible. So a lot of people think it's a solo journey. It is not. You're solo, like, you alone are responsible for everything, for launching the business and making sure it's successful, but it's not a solo journey. Like, you need access to resources and mentors and advisors and, like, these industry nights. It's like you need all of those things to make sure you have a successful business. So that's the one thing I'll leave people with. It's like you need to get in a network or an ecosystem like this if you really want to launch your business successfully. And that's kind of what the master's program does for you.
I love that. Yeah, the what we are trying to ultimately do is create culture of people that are launching businesses, tweaking business ideas, working with like-minded folks, as well as folks that challenge their ideas and provide feedback. And all of that is going to be mirrored as you move forward in your career. And however we can put you as a student in a position where that is possible throughout your time here, we're hoping to do.
Yep, you got it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us here, Bryan. I really appreciate it. Some fantastic insights, and we will see you around the Jake Jobs Center.
See you, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So for everyone who is still with us, we are going to run through some specifics here about the MS Entrepreneurship program so that you have some insights here. So I've got my screen up once again on our namesake, Mr. Jake Jobs himself, as well as the Denver Lynx mascot. I'm just going to run through some information here about the program to give you a little bit more of a background. Again, if there's questions you have for myself, for Professor Stear, please don't hesitate to reach out either here in the chat or as we move through the next couple of months ahead of the start of our summer and fall terms. More than happy to sit down and talk with anyone and answer questions that you have. So quick background, the Jake Jobs Center was founded in 1996 as the Bard Center. It's renamed in 2013 following a $12 million gift from Jake Jobs that has helped us to fund entrepreneurship opportunities. We are an academic department, a resource center that is here to foster entrepreneurship at CU Denver. We do this by developing relationships with local business leaders, which provides a ton of opportunities for our students as well as support as they are building up their ideas. And we offer programs like the Climb and other experiential events to drive forward your overall studies. In terms of the program itself, it is a customizable 30-credit curriculum. What this means is that you choose any 10 courses within the program that align with your interests, your goals, your knowledge gaps. This offers you as a student the opportunity to build out a curriculum that fits what you're looking for rather than what we think you need to be looking for. So I'll work with students independently to build out that larger degree plan, and that is always customizable throughout the program. We offer courses in small business accounting and finance, concept development and pitching, visionary leadership, business planning, launching startups, social entrepreneurship, and so much more. As long as you are taking courses with the ENTP code, those will be applicable for credit within our overall program. So we are here to work with you throughout that process to make that happen and make that work for you. The Climb, mentorship opportunities, internship opportunities, a lot of different ways for us to get you exposure to the larger entrepreneurship field and put you in a position where you're able to succeed. We offer a broad advisory council, which includes some of Colorado's most recognizable entrepreneurs, investors, and industry experts, people like Joel Apple, Karen Hertz, Sam Kumar, 3 great entrepreneurs across a variety of industries who are willing and able and excited to speak with you as a student. And then we have advisory council members who will serve as mentors for our students to provide you opportunities and feedback as you grow. Also internship and networking events that we can talk about throughout your program. From a tuition standpoint, what you can anticipate within our program, and I can update this here. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure I've got the most up-to-date tuition here for students. Apologies for the delay here. All right. So tuition, share my screen here. That's got the full tuition info. So tuition currently for our our spring 2026 term is $750 per credit hour for in-state students, $22.50 per course, $900 per credit hour for out-of-state and international students, so $2,700 per course. Estimated total costs right now, $26,000 to $34,000, including fees. This is subject to change, and I will just be, transparent with students. We are making adjustments to our tuition at this time of year. This is when we review and adjust tuition rates for the academic year of 26-27. So we will see a moderate increase in these tuition rates, but we do subsidize the tuition to put students in a position where they are paying between $26,000 and $35,000 to make sure it's as affordable as possible. In terms of our overall application here, let me get back on screen. Sorry about that. All right. So in terms of our overall application overview for students to consider, for domestic students, there is an application that is to complete it online, short answer questions, updated resume, and transcripts that are needed from all institutions where credit was awarded. There's no GMAT, no GRE required. References in an interview are very optional within our program. Our application fee is $50. And for fall 26 students, our domestic priority, where your application fee can be waived, is May 15th, so about 2 months away. And our domestic final deadline is July 15th. So quite a little ways away for students who are coming here who are US students. For international students, the application is the same as domestic with a couple adjustments. So first and foremost, there's a $75 application fee, which is to fund the international credential evaluation that we do in-house. You have options for international credential evaluations through ECE or WES. Those do cost significantly more than the $75 application fee, so do be mindful when you are preparing that part of your overall application to ensure you're getting as good a rate as possible for the EIC, which is required for international students. English language proficiency, we take TOEFL, IELTS, and Duolingo. The F1 student visa is what students are obtaining. And the deadlines, our priority deadline is coming up on March 15th. Our final deadline will be May 15th. So that will align with the priority deadline for domestic students. And as I noted, we have an in-house credit evaluator, which is paid for with the $75 fee. For upcoming webinars for students who are coming to our program, Wednesday, April 15th, we will have an interview with our CLIMB finalists. So keep an eye out for that registration. Tuesday, May 12th, we will be doing an application overview webinar for those ahead of our priority deadline. June 10th, I'll be speaking with a faculty member again. And then July 8th, I will be jumping online to talk with students ahead of our application deadline. So keep an eye out for all of that. Emails will be coming here. Email invites will be coming here shortly. And all webinars through May 15th include an application fee waiver. And then finally, this is my information up here on the screen. So if you have any questions about our program, if you would like to speak with me one-on-one, I'd be more than happy to talk with you about any questions you have about your program. If you're currently in the program, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to schedule conversations with me around degree planning. You've probably already heard a bit from me with regards to that, but I'm here to work with you through that process to make sure that that works out for you. Prospective students, please book an appointment with me as soon as possible so we can talk about the program for yourself. With that, thank you all so much for spending a little bit of your afternoon with us. I hope that you got a lot out of our conversation with Professor Stear. I thought it was really enlightening, and I look forward to talking with you as we move towards the next step of your career as you pursue entrepreneurship and seek out this next opportunity for you. Thank you all so much. We'll talk soon.